All right, Luke, I'm going to record this and then we're going to go live here on Facebook. We're going to go to Proper Titles Facebook page and go live. And we are going to go live on Proper Titles Facebook page. We do this every Wednesday at 11 a.m. where I chat with real estate professionals about what's going on in the market and quick little 15 to 20 minute long conversations that you get to listen in on. So thank you everybody for joining us this morning. My name is Sabrina Beer. I am Director of Digital Media and Education here at Proper Title, where I chat every Wednesday a.m. with real estate professionals to give you up-to-date information on what's happening in the market and little niche topics that you need to know about. So today I am talking to one of our real estate attorneys, Luke Keller. Hi, Luke.
How are you? Thank you for having me. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Why don't you tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you're doing?
Yeah, so again, like she said, my name is Luke Keller. I am a local real estate attorney in the south suburbs of Chicago. Grew up on the south, just a little bit about myself. I grew up on the south side of Chicago in a town called Worth. I went to Mount Carmel, and then I also went to St. Xavier for undergrad, and then I went to John Marshall in the city for college. From John Marshall, after passing the bar, I started at a municipal law firm. So my father was actually the mayor of the town that I grew up in Worth. So my background is a little bit of a political background. So municipal law was a great fit for me because I grew up pretty much doing that within my household. While at the firm, I was handling like FOIA requests. So just like public document type of requests, election law. I was a prosecutor for local traffic. And then ultimately, I was a hearing officer for the local municipalities that the firm represented. So I had a great experience from there. And then I was also doing real estate. And I kind of really took a passion to the real estate after a few years. After about 5 years of doing, mainly municipal work, I started doing real estate. I just really found a passion for it. And I kind of took that and ran with it. And I've been doing that for about 7 years total. I've been an attorney for about 10, but I would say I've been doing real estate for about 7 now. Through the last 3 years, I've been doing it strictly on my own. I like to say our firm is, we do a very good job. We really pride ourselves on communication. I have two wonderful assistants, Teresa and Jessica, that, they just do a fantastic job and they really make me look good. So our main thing though, for our firm is we really do pride ourselves on communication. So every one of my clients and my agents, they have my personal cell phone. Unfortunately, it probably goes off a lot more than I'd like it to. It's 24-hour day availability, but that's what gets the job done, and we're really proud of that.
Yeah, real estate's definitely more than a 9 to 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. One of the main reasons, not just that you're not an awesome residential real estate attorney, which you are, but one of the main reasons I wanted to chat with you today was all of your experience in the municipalities. And I want to back up a little bit and really kind of explain to people what a municipality is, right? Because we think about Chicago, one of the largest cities in the US, and it has, counties and it's got its surrounding suburbs. But what is specifically a municipality?
A municipality is just like it's either a town or a city or a village. So it's just really think about the Chicago as a whole. And it's like, it's just a smaller communities that's surrounding the area and throughout the state.
Yeah. And so just to clarify for everyone too, that's watching, is although Chicago has 77 neighborhoods, those are not considered municipalities. So the municipalities are right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I was clear too.
Yes. Yeah, no, they're separate and distinct. Yes.
They're outside of the Chicago city limits.
Correct.
And they are still could be in Cook County potentially, but they're out throughout the counties of the area and the suburbs. Correct. And great. Okay. So in my experience, what I have learned is, even though I'm a Chicago girl, is that in these other municipalities, there's a lot of additional requirements to sell real estate. And so for this conversation, let's talk about residential real estate pretty much let's just talk about a single family freestanding home and wanting to purchase or sell a single family home. And when you do that, then there's certain requirements that every municipality has, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's actually, I'm sure our title company has, and our firm definitely has like a list of each municipality. So it makes it a lot easier for the agents. I think that's one of the biggest things that are overlooked as it like from an agent standpoint. I guess admittedly so, when I was a new attorney, you think everything's going smooth, and then someone says, did you get the inspection done or the transfer stamps done? And it only takes one time to realize that I'm never going to forget that again. But yeah, every single city, town, they have their own different requirements. So for example, like Calumet City, Dalton, Chicago Heights, they have a city inspection that has to be done in order to get the transfer stamps. Okay. Oak Lawn, they don't have a city inspection, but they have a sewer inspection. Okay. And then like Elmhurst, which is probably one of the few, they have a sump pump inspection. So there's just different inspection types that are needed in some municipalities, and then you have other municipalities that might not have any. So it's really important, especially when we bring on new agents or new clients, that we have this chart, so we obviously look at it, but it's also great for a great asset for agents to obviously see it, understand it, and then we can both explain that to the potential buyer or seller, because there are seller requirements for most of them. But then there's also, some buyer requirements as well that, of course, you definitely want to notify your buyer of that prior to them purchasing.
Okay, so let's back up here just a little bit. So first and foremost, key number one is all the municipalities have different requirements, whatever they are. They might have none, but whatever they are, they have different requirements.
Correct.
And if you want a copy of that list, like if you find that to be handy, you can contact myself or you can contact Luke and we can get that for you. Our contact information is going to be right here below in the comments here. So feel free to reach out and we can get you that list. However, you don't even need the list. You can just call Luke. Well, you can call me too, but you can call your attorney, specifically somebody like Luke that has experience throughout the municipalities, because it is very different working, for instance, in the city of Chicago versus working in Elmhurst, like you said, or who would have known a sump pump inspection? Like, okay. So let's talk about, so you mentioned transfer stamps a couple of times, but I'm going to leave that for a minute. We'll talk about those in a second, but let's talk about these inspections, right? So here I am, I'm selling my home in said area that's outside, some municipality, and I'm selling my home and I have a buyer and the buyer's under contract, super happy. I got my price, they're happy, everything's good. So now we're about to start the attorney review period, right? And we're starting all that stuff. So now, so then you get the contract, let's say they're hiring you. And you're like, okay, well, we need the blah, blah, blah inspection. So what happened? Like who does it?
Well, generally speaking, we will notify the agent right when we get the contract. Teresa does a fantastic job, and so does Jessica. They do a fantastic job of notifying the agent, like, hey, just want to make sure we're on the same page. 9 times out of 10, it's the agent who will coordinate that with our seller to get the inspection ordered. So whatever comes from the inspection, we'll handle negotiations with the other side if there are any types of leeway that comes out of the inspection. But generally, we do work as a team, but primarily the agent will work with the seller to get that literally ordered.
So so you contact the seller's agent, say, hey, are we on the same page? I know this home needs a blah, blah, blah inspection. If I'm the seller's agent and maybe I don't do a lot of business in this area or something like that, who do I then call to get this inspection done?
Well, we work as a team. So it's not like we don't essentially pawn it off on the listing agent. So if that is the case, then we have done this countless times. If it's a newer agent, we'll literally walk them through it. We'll order it with them through the village or through the city. It's just good for them to kind of learn that in case, for whatever reason, they don't have me on the next deal because the seller has their own attorney. It's good for the agent to know exactly what needs to be done and kind of getting comfortable. And I think that'll make them, really, really ahead of a lot of agents.
That's so wonderful. Like, honestly, like there's music to my ears of like, the hand holding part is so important when, you're newer, or even you could be super experienced and just be doing a deal in a different area that you're not used to. And so to have you as a resource is really wonderful. So thank you for being you.
Absolutely.
Okay, so said inspection gets scheduled, and then if they need to enter the property or whatever, I'm assuming I am the seller's agent, I coordinate that with the homeowner.
Correct.
So that the inspection can take place. And then how long does it usually take to like receive the results from, I'm sure it depends on.
Well, that's
area.
the biggest thing is that at that point, we're on the municipality's time. So that's why it's so crucial that we get that done immediately, like ordering it as soon as possible, because I know, for example, we had a municipality that they were, especially with COVID, it was really difficult through COVID, just getting in and out of people's houses. But we did have one where they said it was going to be like a month. They're a month out for the inspections. Luckily, I was the previous hearing officer, so I was able to kind of get us in there a little bit sooner than normally probably would. But it's definitely, you're on their time. So it's sooner the better, regardless of whether or not the deal, let's say, if God forbid the deal were to fall through, at least we had that inspection done for the next deal. So time is really of the essence, and it has to happen regardless. So getting it done sooner than later is obviously a good thing.
Yeah. So once you get the results and something needs to be done in order to pass the inspection so that we can sell this property, who pays for said thing?
Okay, so 9 times out of 10, the seller will have all the items addressed. Okay, there are some outlier circumstances where the buyer will say, you know what, that's okay, I really want that. If, let's say it was a bidding war, and they say, we really wanted the house, and we're willing to we'll take the property as it is, which ironically they sign an as is form with that municipality. And usually the municipality will give them about 90 days to do so. There are certain circumstances, once again, it's municipal specific, but if the buyer were to say, we'll just take it as is, sometimes they'll have to put up a bond. So again, we just had one last week where our client, the buyer, had to put up a $4,000 bond.
And is that money just sit in like similar, like a sitting in escrow or something, and they get
it sits with the municipality, like they have it, and then it's more to ensure that the work does get done. And obviously it's returned once there's proof that it's the work has been done. But again, luckily our client was aware of that, because it's a tough conversation to have at the 11th hour with your client when they have to put up an escrow for things like that.
I need $4,000 in 24 hours, please.
Correct. Yeah. And I guess going back though, I did write a note on, so like you were saying, so we get the contract right, and then we order the village inspection. That is separate and distinct from the buyer's regular inspection that they'll normally have too. So in some circumstances, there'll be 2 inspections, and possibly even a 3rd inspection if there's an FHA loan on there. Not to kind of get too complicated here, but it is separate and distinct from the normal buyer's inspection that we would have on a normal contract.
I'm glad you said that. Thanks for clarifying that. So you have, like, if I'm, so now I'm the buyer, I'm all kinds of people in this conversation. So I'm the buyer, and I still want to do my overall property inspection, where I hire an inspector of my choice to come into the property and check out the windows, the foundation, the roof, the appliances, the stairwells, the doors. I do the whole normal buyer inspection. But at the same time, we're also, the seller's agent is ordering the inspection from the village or the municipality to do whatever their inspection is. And should I assume that each place's inspection encompasses different types of things, whatever is important to that, or what are they really looking for?
I wouldn't say they're looking at different things, but there's 2 different people doing the inspection. So you might see something as an inspector that I did not necessarily deem that was important, or I might have just missed it. So it doesn't, normally it would correlate, because if there's a hole in the roof, there's a hole in the roof. But it can be separate as far as the inspection results go.
Cool. Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned earlier is the words transfer stamps, and I don't want to assume that everybody knows what those are. So in pretty much every state somewhere, there's some form of a transfer tax or a transfer stamp when you're buying and or selling a property. And it
Mhm.
could be based on the state, the county, and the city, right? So in these scenarios, and so that's another thing, by the way, I'm sure your office has it as well, Luke, but we also have where you can look up all the transfer stamp requirements, which is probably part of your book too. We probably have the same one
Mhm.
of for the different municipalities, but so the transfer stamp, can you explain a little bit to everybody what a transfer stamp or a transfer tax is?
I mean, it's very, very straightforward. The transfer stamp is literally a stamp that gets affixed to the deed once it's recorded. So assuming we get the, all the requirements, whatever the requirements may be, let's say the seller does hit all those and we're ready to, to move forward. So we'll take those to the city or the village. And once they're complete, they literally will hand a stamp. 9 times out of 10 that the title company will provide, go pick up the stamp literally. But the municipality will give a stamp to whoever picks it up, and that does get affixed to the deed that ultimately gets recorded. It just shows again that the requirements were met. And don't lose them. They're the size of a stamp. So I've almost lost them one time.
It's so crazy, right? Here we are in 2023 and we're talking about a little stamp that gets stuck to the deed.
Right.
Oh, well, maybe that'll change at some point in time, but don't hold your breath, people. Okay, so all these requirements get hit and now we're able to get that stamp. Without having the inspection, you can't get the stamp. Without having the stamp, you can't close on the deal. And so it's all kind of this flowing thing, along with a lot of other things, as everybody knows, as far as a real estate transaction is concerned. Okay, so the transfer stamp, though, some municipalities don't have one. Is that correct?
Yeah, some of them they don't. Some of it's not really a requirement. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I said, a majority of them do that. But it's something that my staff and I will definitely run by our agent and then of course our client. So it's just a kind of a situational basis, but 9 times out of 10.
Yeah. So important, everybody, to I always say this, please, I'm going to get on the soapbox really quick. Please, if you are buying or selling real estate, please do not use your uncle's brother's cousin's attorney that does some other law, that practices some other law or in some other state or whatever. Please use a local real estate attorney for what is said to be one of your biggest investments of life, because little things are huge. One, they can cost you a lot of money. Two, is you just want this to be smooth. There's so many moving pieces, right? So if I'm using it, doesn't understand the different transfer stamps for the different municipalities, like you just said, then all of a sudden we're getting ready to close and it's like, oh, where's the inspection? Where's
Very
the
awkward
stamp?
conversation. Yeah, very awkward. Yeah. You don't
Yeah.
want to
And
do
I'm sure
that.
you've had before, right? Like I'm sure there's been not on your side, but I'm sure there's been situations.
It happens. Yes. Yes. You want to
Yeah,
be prepared as much as possible, and that's why that's why you're entrusting in our services, and we're very proud, and I think we do a really good job.
you do a really good job. Yeah, that's awesome. Let me check, see here if there's any questions on Facebook. Feel free to put any questions on Facebook. I didn't say that at first for those of you that are watching, but Luke's contact information is going to be right down here below. So please, he already told you can call his cell phone. So
Always on. It's always on.
it's always on. He just won't answer if he's on the somebody else, but he'll call you right back. Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I was going to say is, is there a cost associated to inspections, and if so, who pays for them? Not the buyer's property inspection, but the municipality required
Yeah,
inspection.
sometimes there is there, and again, it's all, I hate to kind of do the default, they're all different, but there are costs associated. It's not very much, it could be $50, it could be $150. It's not a whole lot. But it definitely is something that could happen, and it does happen.
And does that show up then just on the settlement statement at the end of the day, or?
It's dependent. Some municipalities will allow us to do it, then others will just say, hey, no, the seller has to come and pay up front.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, any other closing remarks about buying and selling real estate in the different areas of Chicagoland?
No, like I said, I just want to thank you again for your time. It was such a pleasure talking with you. And then hopefully, hopefully this reaches and answers some questions for some people. Again, I like to say, our firm does a very good job. We're doing a summer special for listings that will probably extend into the fall. So we're doing a $350 attorney fee for any of our listings. So hopefully whoever needs to hear that, heard that, and we're always available and ready to go.
Awesome. Well, Luke, thank you very much. Thank you for always choosing proper title. Thank you everybody for watching. If you have any real estate questions, feel free to call me. I'll find you the answers, or you can just call Luke. He'll answer his cell phone.
I'm ready.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, Luke.
Thank you.